Raven Bronwyn's got some explaining to do when the RWBY series picks back up, because now it is certain that Raven knows exactly what happened to Summer Rose. Because as we saw at the end of Volume 9, when RWBY was going through her ascension, she was shown a vision of Summer Rose meeting Raven Bronwyn, and them going off together. That being the last time that RWBY ever saw her mother. This was right before Summer disappeared. And now, RWBY knows that Raven went with her, and more importantly, that Raven knows what happened. Raven might not be the only one who knows, though, but there is going to have to be some sort of conversation that happens, likely between RWBY, Raven, and Crow. Likely Yang as well, because Summer was also her mother as well. So, yeah, some things are going to have to come out into the open. We are going to be learning some secrets in Volume 10, and the fact that Raven kept this hidden is probably not going to go so smoothly, at least with Yang. RWBY, after going through her ascension, she seems a lot more steady, a lot more calm, and maybe she won't blow up in rage at Raven for keeping this a secret. Maybe she'll be a little bit more understanding due to what she learned when undergoing her own ascension. The reason that she was shown that vision of her mother, it wasn't because the blacksmith was trying to tell RWBY that she should give up, that she shouldn't try. It wasn't to torture her with the last memory that she had of her mother. It was to show her that her mother was under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. There was a huge burden put on her shoulders, just like there was on RWBY's. So RWBY, at least, might be a little bit more understanding of why Raven might have kept that a secret. Also because RWBY has kept secrets throughout the series as well. Most notably, not telling Ironwood about Ozpin's return and about there being a question left in the Relic of Knowledge. She understands why some things need to be kept secret, and although she will not be happy that secrets were kept about her mother, the one thing that she's been dying to know ever since her mother disappeared, I think she might be a bit more understanding of it than what she would have been prior to Volume 9. There's still probably going to be some anger and certainly some dissatisfaction coming from RWBY, but Yang, I think, is the one that we need to worry about the most blowing up on her mother, given everything that has happened between them. Now, I don't think it's going to happen immediately upon the start of Volume 10, as much as we might like that to happen, and it might be possible for it to happen, because as we saw in the episode 11 animatic, Raven is actually the one who goes to retrieve Team RWBY and Jean when they reappear in the deserts of Vacuo. Because Raven has that kindred link with Yang. She can sense Yang's presence, can sense when she's in danger. That's why she showed up in Volume 2 when Neo was about to kill her. And so, sensing that Yang has reappeared after however many months, after thinking her daughter was lost to her forever, Raven's going to come out of that portal and quite possibly just hug Yang. RWBY, understanding that a lot has happened, probably learning right at that moment, if Raven says something like, "You've been gone for so long, I had worried that I lost you," or something along those lines, RWBY I don't think is going to bring that up right away, because there are more pressing matters at hand. The fact that it seems like the entire world is mobilized for war outside the city of Vacuo, and if it has been a few months, then all of their friends think that they're dead. We, of course, as the viewers, know that they've erected an entire memorial for the people who fell during Atlas's destruction, most notably Team RWBY. And so, they're going to want to talk to their loved ones, their friends, and figure out what the situation is and what they can be doing to help. RWBY learning about Summer, I think, will come later. Perhaps it might even be the cliffhanger or the end of the episode for the first episode of Volume 10. Just having her walk up to Raven and say, "We really need to talk about my mother, about what you and Summer Rose did on your last mission," or something of that nature. And then episode ends, leave us wanting more when it comes to episode 2, something like that. We don't have any confirmation yet on whether Volume 10 is greenlit or when it will be coming, but we do know that Viz Media is working on other RWBY projects, and Volume 10 is almost certainly going to be one of them. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that Raven might not be the only one who knows what happened to Summer, because I think Crow might also be somewhat in the know. Given that In Volume 4, when he was delirious after being poisoned by Tyrion, in his delirium, he was speaking to Ty, saying that she's not coming back, referring to Summer. How would Crow know that Summer isn't coming back? We heard his take on events in Volume 7 when RWBY asked Crow if Summer's last mission was another Ozpin secret. Crow told RWBY that when Summer didn't return, Ozpin was just as in the dark as himself and Ty, RWBY's father. And that doesn't exactly line up with Crow telling Ty that she's not coming back. Because how would Crow know that? If Ozpin, Crow, and Ty were all just as in the dark as one another, then why would Crow be telling Ty that she's not coming back? Unless he talked to Raven. And Raven maybe didn't tell Crow the entirety of what happened, but at least enough to get across that something bad happened and Summer is not coming back. She's gone. Whether she's truly gone or she's going to show up again in some capacity in the future of the RWBY series, well, that remains to be seen, because as we do know, after Summer went to face Salem, Salem's perspective on Silver-Eyed Warriors changed. She stopped killing them on sight and wanted them captured alive for her own experimentation, for creations like the Hound. And it is very likely that, well, something like that may have happened to Summer, or at least Salem attempted to do something like that to Summer. We don't even know that this last mission that Raven and Summer went on is to face Salem. At least we don't have 100% confirmation, but all signs are pointing to that. Salem knows who Summer Rose is, directly telling RWBY that her mother spoke the same way that she did. So they've come face to face at some point. Summer's last mission is the one that she disappeared on, very likely being one that she went to go face Salem, because during that conversation that Summer and Raven were having, Raven was concerned about leaving Yang and RWBY behind, that Summer was a much better parent than she was. And Summer's response was simply, if I do this correctly, then there won't be anything to worry about. Meaning that this last mission, just like Crow said back in Volume 7, is a Summer secret. Summer was the one who came up with this plan. Summer was the one pushing this mission forward. She thought that she could defeat Salem. Unfortunately, that's because she didn't know the full extent of Salem's abilities, the fact that she was given immortality by the gods. Everything that we learned in The Lost Fable is stuff that Ozpin hid from everyone, Crow included, meaning the rest of Team Stark as well did not know this information. When Summer went to face Salem, she did so not knowing the enemy that she was facing, thinking that Salem was just the leader of the Grimm, a ancient and possibly mutated Grimm, something that the Silver Eyes could take care of. Something that the Silver Eyes probably will play a factor in defeating, and something that probably she was able to do a decent amount of damage against. I've theorized before that the cracks appearing on Salem's skin, the black vein-like structures, those were caused by Summer Rose. She planned to use the Silver Eyes against Salem, and it might be a prerequisite of the Silver Eyes that you have to understand the enemy that you are trying to take out. Either that, or it only works on Grimm. And it worked on the grimmified portion of Salem's soul and Salem's body, but given that she was once human, and has the immortality of the gods, she wasn't able to destroy her. And thus, Salem still exists today. But Summer Rose is nowhere to be found. Raven, though, was able to make it back. From what we can gather, Summer was the one who was going to go on the offensive here. Raven, I think, was probably more of just a mode of transportation. A way for Summer to get where she needed to go and get back quickly so as not to worry her family. I don't think Raven was meant to take place in the main battle. She may have been there to keep Salem's lackeys at bay. Take care of Tyrion if he was part of Salem's inner circle at that point. Take care of any other Grimm that may have been around. Things of that nature. Because if it was just Summer and Raven that went out on that mission, then it's also possible that at that time they didn't know about Salem's lieutenants. If Tyrion was there, Cinder, I don't think would have been part of Salem's inner circle at that point in time, because presumably Summer's last mission was 10 years ago or so. I don't think Raven was the Spring Maiden when she was on this mission. I think that came later. Perhaps another idea is that the Spring Maiden was someone that they went to go fetch. Raven grabbed Summer Rose, they went back to the Braunwood tribe camp where the Spring Maiden was, and then all three of them were going to go off to face Salem. And then that's where the Spring Maiden died, powers passed on to Raven, she was able to get out of there utilizing the Spring Maiden powers. That's a potential scenario that could have played out as well. I'm guessing there had to be at least one other person to travel with them, assuming that Salem had lieutenants at that point in time. She may not have met Hazel, Tyrion, Cinder, or even Watts at that point. But as we know, she had other lieutenants in the past. Talk, for example, was one of her previous lieutenants, who was killed by Maria Calavera, so she had to have other lieutenants. Maybe Summer just saw this as an opportunity where Salem didn't have any other lieutenants. But Summer didn't understand that Salem wasn't just a Grimm. She had a plan to deal with her, but that plan ultimately did not succeed. And whatever it was, kickstarted the events that are now unfolding in the RWBY series. The fact that Salem is gathering the relics now is likely a direct result of Summer Rose going to face her that day. And we're going to start learning about all of that in the next volume of RWBY, whenever that may be. There is a lot yet to come in the RWBY series. The secrets are on the precipice of being revealed, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything is going to unfold. Let me know down in the comments below how you think the interaction between Raven, RWBY, Yang, and Crow is going to go. Do you think that Crow actually knows a bit more than he let on? He chose his wording very carefully in Volume 7 when he was talking to RWBY, that when Summer Rose didn't come back, all three of us, Ozpin, Ty, and Crow, were just as in the dark as one another. But that doesn't mean he didn't find out more afterwards, because Summer was a previous member of his team. You'd think he'd be just as desperate to find her as Ty would. In fact, Crow seems like the type of guy who would tell Ty to stay with RWBY and Yang, that they need him now more than ever, and Crow would be the one going out to try to find out what happened. That would lead him to Raven. Because, of course, if Summer doesn't come back, he would probably go talk to Raven to tell her that something happened to the leader of their old team. At which point, he probably would have seen the reaction on Raven's face, interrogated her, had a conversation with her, an angry conversation, probably with a few blades involved, and then, in some way, shape, or form, learned the truth. And that is why he told Ty that Summer isn't coming back. Makes a lot of sense, and so it's going to be a rough conversation to be had. Crow might be feeling a lot more optimistic right now, and especially after Team RWBY's return, but when RWBY has some questions for him, that mood might sour just a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. And if you guys enjoyed this video, want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. If you want to talk to me live, make sure to check out my Twitch channel as well. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and would love to see you there. With that being said, though, I'll see you guys in the next video.